Whenever you're ready.
Alright, I'm Adam and I'm in group 2. Unfortunately, in this day and age, terrorism and explosives, otherwise known as energetic materials to the scientific community, go hand in hand. Terrorists all over the world are manufacturing these explosives to inflict chaos and fear into the minds of the general population. Terrorism, as you all know, has many formal definitions. However, in all definitions, it involves illegal activity, including the use of force or violence directed against the civilian population. It's intended to coerce or intimidate a government or civilian population or other non-combatants in furtherance of a social or political objective. An energetic material is defined as a material that can undergo a rapid chemical decomposition, giving off heat, light, and sound, and release a large amount of energy instantaneously. That's an energetic material. You put these two definitions of terrorism and energetic materials together, and you have a recipe for disaster. According to the Department of Homeland Security, there are two general types of terrorism: domestic and international. Within domestic, there are three subtypes: right-wing, left-wing, and special interest. An example of a right-wing terrorist group would be one that has an anti-government or racist ideology. An example of a left-wing terrorist group would be one that has a communist or socialist ideology. An example of a special interest terrorist group would be one that would be against abortion or coat manufacturing because animal rights. Domestic terrorists carry out their attacks by means of arson, bombing, and sabotage. The subtypes of international terrorism include state-sponsored. Examples include Iran, Syria, Sudan, and Cuba, because these states all sponsor terrorism. Formal, as well as loosely affiliated terrorism. International terrorists carry out their attacks via means of mass destruction, assassination, as well as kidnapping. As you all know, a prime example of this is September 11th, because terrorists from foreign countries, supported by foreign sources, crossed an international border to attack the United States. So why explosives? Terrorists often use energetic materials because they provide a dramatic, low-risk, low-cost, yet high-yield tool for making a public statement. How-to information is readily available to anybody via the internet, books from libraries and bookstores, and you can even access targets that you want to attack by tourist pamphlets or on-site visits of certain facilities. This is an example of a book that you can easily get in a library that instructs you on how to make explosives in your house. A prime example of a low-cost, high-yield tool is the chemical composition ANFO, or ammonium nitrate, which is simply yard fertilizer, and diesel fuel oil mixed together. It was developed in 1955 and is the most common blasting agent in worldwide use today. It was used by Timothy McVeigh in the Oklahoma City bombing of the Alfred P. Murrah building, in which 168 were killed and 450 were injured. This is what he did to the building, with 5,000 pounds of ANFO packed away in a moving truck. Compared to your own cars, you could fit 1,500 pounds of ANFO in your own car. So basically a quarter of that is what you could do with a small sedan. This was considered the deadliest attack in the U.S. prior to 9/11. Potential targets include government buildings, such as the Alfred P. Murrah building, pictured here. Mass transit, such as the New York City subway system, which you all use to get to school today. Controversial businesses, such as abortion clinics or stem cell research facilities. And primarily large populated areas, such as Times Square. As you all know, Times Square failed attempt bombing, which occurred a couple months ago. According to the New York City Terrorism Task Force, had that bomb detonated, it would have claimed more lives than 9/11. According to the U.S. Department of State's Country Reports on Terrorism in 2004, terrorists have targeted a wide range of individuals and structures in their attacks. History shows government personnel and structures are frequent targets, as are other locations where extensive damage and chaos can be caused. According to the FBI's annual report on terrorism, most terrorist attacks on the U.S. are bombings. So how to fight terrorism? Terrorist attacks take much planning. They need to obtain funding. They need to train personnel. They need to conduct surveillance on target. They need to gather materials. They need to construct devices, rehearse the attack, and finally conduct the attack. There are many steps in which the process can be flawed by civilians or other observations. Characteristics of a terrorist threat. A person could be nervous with a blank stare. They could have an awkward attempt to blend into a crowd. They can avoid behaviors towards authority. They can be praying to themselves, as you all know. Suicidal terrorists pray to themselves before they blow themselves up. They can be sweating profusely because of how nervous they are. They can be eagerly walking towards a target, pushing through a crowd or around a barrier. They may have lack of mobility on their upper body due to an explosive device they may have strapped to their chest. Their clothing may not match the weather. They may try to blend in. They may have a backpack, briefcase, or luggage. So in conclusion, the public is at an increasing risk of attack by terrorist organizations. Citizens have been asked by police and other agencies to increase vigilance and report suspicious activity to prevent a threat from occurring. If you see something, say something.